Okay, so my 3U's and 3M's, you guys are looking at complex trinomials. So we had looked at simple trinomials yesterday where it's just in the form of y or x squared plus b squared plus c, where there was no number in front of that x squared. So it gets a little bit more complicated because at times you will see a number that's in front of that x squared. So this is just a pattern sheet that you can look over yourself. It kind of helps you find the two numbers. But just a reminder that when you're factoring, to always check for a common factor first. You always have to do that. Yeah. So to factor complex trinomials, meaning that there's a number in front of this x squared here, we use the method called decomposition. So the definition of decomposition means to break down something, to reduce it into its original elements, or to break it down into sub-processes or activities. So complex trinomials is very different compared to our simple trinomials that we had seen yesterday. So what you have to do now is you have to multiply your A and your C. Okay, so I'm gonna get the pen here. So if we look here, our first step is to multiply this. Okay, so we have A, no, we took it off the pen here. Okay, so we have A times C is our first step. So we do 3 times -2, which is going to give us -6. And then we state what our B is. So B is -5. So a little bit similar to simple trinomials. It's just you're multiplying your A and your C. So our next step is to find two numbers that equal to that AC, so our -6, and then two numbers that add to -5. Okay, so for this case, it's -6 and 1. -6 plus 1 gives us -5. So those are our two numbers. And this is where it gets a lot more different. So what you're going to do is you take these two numbers and you're going to divide up. So we're decomposing our -5x. Okay. So you write your first term, so 3x squared. You're going to take your first number that you have, so -6x. You're going to take your second number, so plus 1x, and you're going to add your c in there, so -2. So you can see here, it's the same answer. So -6x plus 1 gives us -5x. So it's the exact same thing. So when we were doing FOIL earlier, you had to put your common, your like terms together. What you're doing right now is you're going backwards. So you're decomposing that -5x into what it would have been before we did FOIL. Our next step is to put the first two terms in brackets. And then what you're going to do is you're going to find the common factor between those two first terms, only the first two. Okay, so here we can see that we've got 3 and 6, so we can take out 3. And we've got x squared and x, so we can take out an x. So 3x squared divided by 3x gives us x. 6x, well, -6x divided by 3x is just 2. And you're going to close that bracket. And what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing for the next two terms. Don't get this mistaken here. It's not a multiplication. It's actually just an addition. Okay. And there's no like terms in there. So all you just do is you do plus 1. Okay. And it's, you know that you're doing this right if these two brackets are the exact same. Okay. You're doing it right if these two are the exact same. If they are not, you're not doing it right. Okay. So your next step is to take these two terms and put them into a bracket. So your 3x and your plus 1, you put those into one bracket. Like that. And then whatever your repeating bracket is the second bracket that you're going to put. So we have a repeating bracket of x minus 2. And that is how you factor it. That is everything. Okay, we're going to do a few more examples. Hopefully it makes sense. It's just a matter of doing this step by step and taking your time. So first things first, we look for a common factor. There's nothing in common with 6, 7, and -5. So our first step is to multiply A and C. So our A and C is 6 times -5, so -30. And then we got to find our B. So our B is just +7. So we need to find two numbers, and this is a process that might be a little bit longer for you guys, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So two numbers that multiply to give you -30 and add to +7. So our two numbers are -3 and 10. And I didn't even write the end of the equation here. Okay, so you are going to take these two numbers and you're going to decompose that middle term. So you're still going to write the 6x squared. You're going to do minus 3x plus 10x minus 5. Our next step is to bracket the first two terms and find the common factor. So our common factor between these two is 3x. So here we're left with 2x and minus 1. You're going to do the same thing for these guys. So our common factor here is 5. So we're left with 2x and minus 1. So again, these two brackets are identical, so you did it right. You take these two terms and you're going to put it in the first bracket, 3x plus 5, and your repeating bracket in the second one. And there you have it. You have factored it. So I'm going to clear that. We're going to do 2 more examples, and you're on your own until we have our meeting at 1. So I'm clearing this. Okay. So we have 12x squared plus 11x minus 5. There's no common factor between any of those numbers at all. So we can move on. Our first step is to find AC. So 12 times -5 is -60. And then state our B, which is 11. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to give us -60 and two numbers that add to give us 11. So those two numbers are -4 and 15. Your next step is to decompose this guy into those two numbers. That was a very weird little swivelly line. So we've got 12x squared, take away 4x plus 15x minus 5. Bracket the first two terms and find the common factor, which is 4x. Open the bracket. We are left with 3x minus 1. Do the same thing for the last two terms. So plus 5. So 3x minus 1. You take those two terms, put them into a bracket. And then your second bracket is this, that repeating one. I personally find it's fun. I'm sure you guys wouldn't use the same word, but it is what it is. I like math, so. So again, our first step is to find AC. So 8 times 3 is 24. B is 10. We're going to find two numbers that multiply to give you 24, two numbers that add to give you 10. And those two numbers are 6 and 4. Okay, so 8x squared plus 4x plus 6x plus 3. Our first step is to put it in brackets and find the common factor, which is 4x. So we are left with 2x plus 1, Same thing over here, put them in brackets, find the common factor, which is 3. We are left with 2x plus 1. And put them together into our final factored form. There you have it. Hopefully that makes sense. You know where to find me if it doesn't.